vagina flaps look like balloony by the end of that? I'm sorry. My fault. My fault. I should have never asked that. My fault. Sorry, just one of those random things that popped up in my head. This is like beta version of you guys look like. No? No. No? Crow homie, what?
I love you. I love you. I love you.
Do you have any idea how stressful a street war with birds would be? No, you don't. Because you don't live in Tokyo. Tokyo has a gang problem.
I keep forgetting how, like, prevalent crows are in Tokyo. I remember Katsune explained to me, like, yeah, Japan has, like, giant-ass crows, and they will fight you. And it's like, I can never imagine that. I live in the buttfuck of nowhere in a countryside. I rarely get to see a crow because they're too busy, like, flying somewhere else.
Problem is, the members aren't human and can fly. At one point, there were more than 36...
This is what you guys look like. This is what you guys look like surrounding my apartment. And I'm just like, no wonder no one wants to live here. No wonder nobody wants to live here. All the crow bros keeps inviting anomalies, and I'm the only one willing to live here.
1,000 crows crowding the eastern capital, thanks to the massive amounts of trash produced by the city each year. Crows are basically monkeys minus thumbs.
Don't share your booty in the middle of that.
As corvids, along with others like ravens, jackdaws,
I see crows a lot. I know.
Make up the smartest group of things with wings on the planet.
Yeah, they're all, before anyone goes crazy, yeah, they're all under the same family. What is it? Of like corvids? They're all basically the same, just minor differences here and there. I say minor, but ravens are huge and crows are a little bit smaller and magpies are tiny and jackdaws are well, they look like that, so they're already like assholes.
Smartest group of things with wings on the planet.
We
smart
cousins.
enough to use cars as nutcrackers, only to collect when the walk sign's on. And smart enough to memorize
God, what do you
garbage
mean
routes
licking?
for different
Wait, what?
parts of the
Who
city,
took off
just
all my
to snatch
clothes?
trash before the workers do. But a habitual featherbedist won't just wait for you to trash it, as Tokyo crows have robbed people.
Shout out to all my nursery homies out there. Would you guys fuck my nipples if you get the chance? Sorry, my fault. I probably shouldn't ask that in a nursery home.
Their loot. The bird called Garasu has bloodied the faces of school children while trying to make
What's with the freaky tongues?
Even broken into classrooms to raid lunchboxes. They'll also storm zoos for a living lunch, often in the form of kidnapping baby prairie dogs and ducklings. Not to mention they'll attack livestock, pecking at the udders and causing cuts that can lead to
laughing at it.
infection. That is if they don't just bleed out. In 2017, Tokyo's government received over 600 complaints of civilians thrashed by the aerial urbanite, with most coming in the spring, their nesting season. Which brings another problem. Crows nesting in utility
but it does have a common raven. That's good enough. And that's why you're called Raven.
As material has brought down
never underestimate corvids, especially crows, ravens. Why did you ask that? Why? Is there an uproar?
$100 million in yen are spent each year removing
How is that
dust,
butt allowed on Twitch?
Electric companies stripping 15,880 in 2018. Yet somehow the crows seem to shake it off. How? Well, because the crows started making decoy dummy nests to lead them away from the real ones. Crows and Tokyoites have been beefing for years.
Crow gang attack. No, crow gang, don't attack because you guys are going to annoy my neighbors.
When one crow decided to dive bomb a man while he was playing golf. That man was Governor Shintaro Ishara, and he swiftly declared conflict on the corvids with promise.
Man, that's a man after my own heart. One crow bothered him during his golfing session, and he's just like, oh, I'm going to war with this motherfucker. They're all saying yes. Hell yeah, see, I can still turn people on. Man, I love nursery homes.
The corvids with promises of
that sounds so wrong. I didn't mean it like that. Whatever someone was thinking right now, I didn't mean it like that. Ah, Nanobuko why? It's because I said the thing.
Dish to crow pie. Since then, it's been on site and flight, with the government trying everything to combat a vindictive air terror.
I didn't mean it like that.
To try to fight fire with feathers, and even installing beehives in the heart of Ginza, so the Gimbachi can give the crows a taste of arguably
crows are ugly. You take that back. You take that back.
One thing about Japan, you don't with the Yakuza, and these air gangsters have been testing people in ways arguably no other city animal ever has. And for all humanity's hubris, this might be the one time we have to eat crow. And not in the way that Chiji had in mind.
Damn, that crow really wanted ice cream. Was that Momo?
Since the Emu War of 32. Because at least emus are damn near dinosaur size. Well, like almost everything else, it started with our garbage. Tokyo produced 3.52 million metric tons of trash.
No, you're not. Shut up, CL. Nonomuka don't know what they're...
The government switched from black plastic bags for curbside pickup to semi-see-through.
Hey, thank you for the 25 stream watch streak, Nonomuka.
The intent was to reduce environmental impact, but a consequence was the scavenge happy could now see what was in the bags and had a much easier time finding takeout. In recent years, Tokyo has seen a rise in bears and boars commuting into the city for trash, and wild macaques have continued to be a problem. But according to a wildlife management study, out of the 10 major invasive species, it was crows that caused the highest percentage of harm.
Proportion of harm experience versus, and this is reported, right? Look at how much you guys compared to everyone else. Look at how much you guys cause damage more than, like, all these animals. Crows are smart too, so Valen, yeah, they can hold a grudge.
Harm. And it was also crows that people were most in favor for lethal measures against. The
Don't
gag
just
is
smile
crows
like
in
that,
Tokyo
Sinnoh.
aren't invasive. People just hate them.
Raven's like, I'm innocent.
But if just
Yana
like
just
the trash
staring
was
back
the
and
only
forth,
barrier of
and
entry,
Scott is
Japan
doing
would
the
have more problems
face.
than a flying black Air Force.
Oh,
The
you
problem
know.
is, crows had a counter for almost everything thrown at them. First is that crows have great
Dang,
memories.
monkey is
and
third and
hold
boars are
grudges.
second? Yeah,
In
I know, right?
2006, remember that year, the University of Washington conducted an experiment where 7 crows were trapped and eventually released by people wearing...
Dude, I remember just walking around and a boar kind of like ran right past us as a group, and I swear to God, I almost lost my penis head to a fucking boar. Anyways, weird, interesting fact about me.
Scary masks. Not too long after, study leader Professor
almost broke a
John
door,
Marsloff
remember?
was
You broke
strolling
the door.
campus with the mask when 47 out of the 53 crows he encountered violently rejected to his presence. Each following year, the number of vindictive on-site campus
What?
crows
Yeah, just
grew
random
and
ass fact.
peaked in 2013. Even though at this point, they'd only see the mask twice a year for a few hours, and especially even
Were you
though
okay,
most
Crow?
of the crows
I mean,
on the
I was
offensive
like
weren't
a
even
kid.
alive
I
at the
probably
start
got
of the study.
traumatized in some
It
way.
wasn't until September 2023 that the harassment eventually stopped, and it probably wasn't even that they forgot, just that it took 17 years for them to drop the vendetta. There's also the implication that crows can communicate so
It took
well that even
17
those
years. It took 17 years for them to forget the vendetta of this one specific person and their mask. Whatever the hell that mask design is. 17 years. 17-year grudge. 17-year grudge. 17-year grudge.
vendetta. There's also the implication that crows can communicate so well that even those born after the study can instantly tell which mask
The blonde, always
so
the
yeah,
blonde.
That
Oh.
memory is good for more than just garbage routes. You do wrong by a crow, you're screwed for a very long time, which Tokyoites have learned the stressful way. One man, Hiroshi Takaku,
Oh, they
saw a
dropped
couple
the
of his
vendetta.
colleagues being
They still
attacked by a
remember,
few
though.
crows and fended them off by swinging his belt. The crows backed off, but the next day, they returned to work to find hundreds of crows posted up on their building of business, waiting for them. So safe to say, conventional extermination doesn't really work on an animal.
That generally looks like a fucking apocalypse. You guys are scary when all of you guys are just grouped up like this. You guys are scary.
That can learn the look of the workers doing it and will mob them on site. They also tried traps.
All the Crow bros in my apartment just like wondering, hey, how come no one wants to live here besides like Crow? And then you guys are just hovering around the apartment like that.
Where they bait the crows with food like lard and then gas the captured crows with carbon monoxide. But not only was that method way more costly than it was worth, they didn't expect
They
a
should be
group of
blessed
cock
'cause parents
named
live for
Murder
60.
to turn
Why
death
do
into a
parents
life
live for
lesson.
60?
Crows have funerals, but not the kind that you think where they mourn the dead. In fact, they're more likely to okay, anyway. When a crow sees
okay.
another dead crow, it'll often call out to the surrounding birds and they'll all gather around the fallen member to investigate the cause of death. A study even found that the sight of the deceased triggers activation in the part of the brain associated with higher order decision making. Because crows understand cause and effect, enough to realize that
nobody should underestimate our power cause we're smarter than you think. We put pigeons to shame.
I mean, that's not saying much. Pigeon is like the lowest of the total pool. I'm pretty sure it's like dirt level.
threat to one is a threat to all, so they'll recruit others to investigate the cause of death.
Oh,
it's
damn.
why crows will sometimes avoid a field for years if they see a past tense crow there once. The same study also found that crows will harass any human seen near the corpse, likely pinning the death on them.
Oh, come
They'll also
on!
do the same if they see a human with a hawk, probably realizing that a hawk and a human can equal a bad time. So mass crow killings barely put a dent in the population, and speaking of hawks, they weren't as effective
Pigeons
as the
can be
government
smart.
hoped, as although
I
big
mean, they're
enough
tricking
hawks
us
will
into
murk
food, so they gotta be
crows,
some
crows
form of
will
it.
use their numbers to effectively mob birds of prey and chase them off. You see where I'm going with this, right? These Flyinsteins had a counter for everything. The Tokyo terrors would avoid areas with traps, and any crow deaths were likely reported on and adjusted for by the greater crow community. And let me just remind
For
you
the
that
greater
crows were out
good.
here making decoy nests to slow their human ops down.
Imagine your
Even with the
roommate
crow
is a
cavalry
feather
falling
covered
from
in
its near
childish behavior.
40,000
Oh, God.
population peak, in 2010, there were still an estimated 20,000 running the naked city, causing the government to get even more creative. This is how bad it got. Tokyo had researchers studying more than 10,000 different crow sounds and isolating the specific sound they make in response to a predator, and playing those calls on loudspeakers near trash sites. Basically what pilot whales do to orcas, Japan had to resort to with a bird. But really the only thing that made a difference was regulating the very problem that caused it. People started covering their trash with blue protective tarps, and Utsunomiya University professor Shuei Sugira helped develop a special yellow garbage bag that the crows couldn't see through. And it had to be a very specific yellow or else it wouldn't work. Many places like
It
restaurants
has to
in
be a
Ginza
very
pivot-
specific yellow. Huh? Man, it reminds me of Keanu, an artist, colorblind. What a weird debuff for an artist. Sorry, Keanu.
To
You
have
fit
their
right into
garbage
the crows.
collected at night instead of the crows' prime time of late morning. But by far, the most effective measure was just making less trash in the first place. And Tokyo's 3.52 million metric tons of trash in 2001 was cut down to 2.45 million in 2024. Eventually, the crow numbers would start to chip away.
Jesus
And
Christ!
in 2026, the population is only 20% of its peak 2 decades ago. That was the only way a trash terrorist was going to be beat, as bird experts noted that the traps would only work on younger, dumber crows, and that the birds even figured out how to work around
can't answer any personal questions like that.
Some experts worry that the war isn't over, that it's only a matter of time before the next wave of street-smart crow fiends rise up again. Crows are just too smart to be defeated by conventional methods, because crows are not a conventional bird.
What the fuck? Every single time, I still don't know what this is.
They might have the most unconventional form of self-defense. Crows are the biggest trolls in the animal kingdom, and I don't think it's close. But what if I told you the rage bait's strategic? Let me explain. Crows are omnivore opportunists, and a lot of those opportunities come from scavenging. But scavenging can put them up against much bigger, more powerful predators. So crows will often be so annoying that they force the competition to rage quit. And they'll do this by pulling feathers, and they'll do this to some of the largest birds of prey.
You guys are some of the bravest and most annoying people. I swear to God, I picked the wrong one.
Sea eagles are big enough to catch an AI accusation, but a crow will still tail check them. And in this video, you start to see why, with this crow pulling up on 2 turkey vultures and repeatedly baiting one of them until the vulture finally has enough and makes it the bystander's problem, allowing the crow access to the bird bath. An even more extreme example was a crow arriving at a fresh carcass and waiting for stronger vultures to tear into the hide he couldn't. And with the gift box open, the crow immediately started pulling tails and testing patience, until eventually the troll bird instigated a vulture brawl, during which he snuck in and stole him a piece. It seems the habitual line stepping is a way for the crow to counter brawn with brain. But crows will use troll tendencies on anything from seagulls to eagles, from deer to dogs. But there's one animal that always seems to fall for the rage bait.
The dog just, huh? What'd you say?
The number of catfights provoked by crows is actually insane. I don't know.
Wait, cats and... Now that I say it out loud, that seems stupidly obvious, but it's just like, what's the dog doing?
What that crow said to that cat to make him crash out like that, but surely someone's mother was involved. And then they're always right there to enjoy the violent fruits of their instigation. Crows don't want peace, they thrive off problems. Just to hover above it like a boxing promoter.
Sounds about right.
It's possible the crows recognize the cats as a threat, and this is a 900 IQ play to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, or 2 cats with 1 crow. It would make sense for crows to turn cats on each other, especially if they have fledglings or a nest
That's
nearby.
actually crazy.
But crows
What the
are also
fuck?
smart enough to just do stuff.
Crows just want other animals to fight each other? I mean, yeah, that's just smart. Yeah, you get rid of the competition and you get a show.
Fun, and they're smart enough to use tools to do it. So I can 100% see crows using live cats as tools for their own amusement. Especially since in a lot of these clips, the crows don't look like they have anything to gain. No
Is that
food,
a polar
no
bear?
agenda,
Is that
just
a
free
hippo?
will and
Man,
love of the game.
you
So
guys
what
have
do you
death
think,
wishes.
Anti-predator measures, resource access strategy, or just pure trolling? Who's to say it's not all 3? But whatever it is, it does unlock a new level of the crow's IQ. Theory of mind is the ability to recognize that other beings have thoughts and mental states that can be used to predict or even manipulate behavior. Here's a quick test. Let's say person A puts a sandwich in the office refrigerator, but then person B comes along and takes the sandwich out the fridge and puts it in a pencil drawer. At lunchtime, where's the first place person A would look? If you have theory of mind, you'd say the fridge because that's where A left it, and you know that they don't know that person B is a sandwich thieving waste of carbon. Now, if you're thinking, well, obviously no shit. Well, congratulations. You have the emotional bandwidth of at least a toddler. But crows have shown advanced levels of theory of mind just by knowing that if they frustrate a cat long enough, the cat will eventually take it out on a fellow cat. Another example is crows will often hide food, but will also pretend to hide food if they know they're being watched, making a big show out of it and even making sounds associated with being happy just to keep the food stuff in their beak and hide it for real later. And it's the crows that do the stealing that
The
are most
Oreos! That's Momo! We always want chaos. That's you guys. Oh my God. There it is. There's the happiest crow on earth running away with Oreos. Which one of you guys? It's probably all of you.
Perform theft insurance, meaning they can put themselves in the mind of another crow and act accordingly. Now, I don't want to act like this is a super complex thing. Like squirrels will do the same
in this video. Look at them go.
We're just gonna ignore that they often forget where they put them for real, and that ADHD builds forests. Food. Well, of course, this got the seagulls' attention, and with all their biblical greed, they flew over to steal again. And while the seagulls were left with the stick the crow was posturing as food, The crow was able to spin back and take the fries, their pride, and the W.
Damn!
Along with theory of mind, crows were also able to pass Aesop's test. In this one, the animal would need the foresight to understand that they could reach a treat in a small tube by dropping stones to raise the water level high enough. Raccoons were able to pass the test, as were apes, although they got creative, with an orangutan spitting water into the tube to grab the prize, and a chimpanzee just peeing in it. When it was the crow's turn to step to the plate, not only
And the chimpanzee just fucking piss in it. The water is right there, my dude.
did they pass, they knew enough to use solid sinking objects over those that float, and understood that using the same logic with a tube full of sand made no sense. That performance put the crow on par with a 5 to 7-year-old child, which again is pretty solid for an animal with a brain the weight of 3 nickels.
I mean, he did it. I mean,
Crows did
yeah.
not pass the mirror test, and save for 2 European magpies, corvids in general didn't seem to recognize the bird in the mirror.
Why?
But
I
they do
don't
seem
know.
to understand the
Why-
concept of reflection, with Caledonian crows able to find hidden food that was only visible by looking at a mirror from a certain angle. But forget
Wait, what?
everything I just said. Did you know crows can understand analogy? Being able to
What?
clock an analogy like bird is to air what fish is to, water, was believed to be a strictly human trait, but studies show that primates like chimpanzees and even monkeys like baboons can learn the concept. So how do we figure out crows can too? I'm gonna explain, but first, you gotta lock in. Okay? Lock in. Alright, let's do it. So this test, led by Edward Wasserman of the University of Iowa, started off pretty simple. First, they trained 2 hooded crows to match the correct card to the sample card. They'd have 3 cards and 2 cups. The
Okay.
card in the middle would be the sample card.
Okay.
It would be something like 2 blue circles, and the 2 cards would be on top of the 2 cups, and one card might be something like 1 red and 1 blue circle, and the other one could be a square and a triangle. See, now the crow would have to understand that the correct card would be the one that also has 2 circles, and picking the right one would reveal a juicy mealworm at the bottom of the cup. The other cup contains nothing, because wrong answers deserve nothing. Another example would
Wrong
be if the
answers
middle card had
deserve
2
nothing.
pink squares.
Honestly, probably should use that more. Wrong answers deserve nothing.
And option 1 had a pink circle and a pink triangle, and option 2 had 2 green triangles, then the correct answer would be the one that also has all pink. The crows passed easily. But that wasn't the experiment. That was the warm-up. Because I just described identity matching to sample, IMTS. The real test would be if they could solve relational matching to sample, or RMTS. RMTS basically means if the sample pair is AA and your options are BB and CD, then the right answer would be BB. You would pick BB.
Yeah.
If the sample was CD and your options were EF and GG, you'd pick EF. See, now that's analogical thinking, because AA and BB aren't literally the same, but they are in terms of the relationship the letters in the pair have to each other. So right here, the crow would have to understand that because the sample card has 2 different samples, then the card with the reward would also have 2 different shapes. Nice. Alright, try it again. Bueno. Now you want to hear the kicker? They were not trained to do this. They got this on the first try. They went
What?
straight from IMTS to
I
analogical
thought it takes a few tries for them to figure out like the relation. No, they just recognize it.
thinking, completely on their own. We're still talking about crows here. And Wasserman said it. It'd be one thing if they were brute forced into learning, but the fact that they were able to reason their way into the right answer on the fly, you almost have to reevaluate how smart you
what
think
do you
they
mean?
are. And that's why you're not ready for the crow revolution. Their greatest weapon is their mind, and you can get wrecked purely off of pattern recognition.
Very smart.
Lisa
As
Joyce
in the
was
first
attacked
try,
by
like
crows during a
they
4th of
looked at it and then they recognize what the relationship is, and then they just do it. That is disgustingly smart for a bird with the size of, well, a literal bird brain.
July celebration in Vancouver.
We smart?
What was weird was,
Yeah,
out of the
oh.
hundreds of people outside, Lisa was the only victim. The harassment only got worse to the point where she had to change her commute because a literal murder would be waiting for her outside on her way to work. After weeks of avian abuse, she stumbled across a local Facebook support group with women talking about their crow trauma, and other than, being Tweety's target practice, Lisa noticed all the women had one thing in common.
They're
They all
blondes.
had long blonde hair. As for why blonde bias? Well, you might find your answer in Seattle. That's where science writer and fellow blonde Lynn Peoples was jogging when she took multiple bird strikes to the back of the dome. Later in her jog, she saw a man, probably having a mental episode, absolutely crashing out at the birds at the park, chasing and kicking at them, birds that included crows. He also had a long ponytail. Guess what color it was? You can catch heat from a murder as a bystander, and your only options are to move, dye your hair, or I guess you could wait in the house for 17 years like a cicada. Crow hate crimes have gotten so common, someone developed an app to track crow attacks, and crow tracks quickly gained thousands of reports. As much as I love crows,
There's an
I can
active
understand why
fucking
people are
Google map.
terrified of them. They're the most human bird on the planet, and that is really uncomfortable to some people. Well, let me make it worse. Because
make it
corvids like
worse.
crows, but especially ravens, have had a relationship with wolves that is eerily familiar. You see, corvids will scavenge off wolves' leftovers, but often it's the flying dry snitch that leads the pack to them in the first place. In return, the wolves seem to tolerate the birds picking at the meat once the wolves have ripped it open. But it's not just a business relationship, as ravens and crows have been
Now
seen
they're best
playing
friends.
with wolves in Yellowstone, sometimes grabbing sticks to play tug-of-war, or sometimes even flying above the wolves to get them to jump at them. The birds seem to especially favor playing with wolf pups, and naturalists watching swear by corvids having emotional bonds with specific members of the pack. Not to mention Caledonian crows, you know, the ones that pass the tube test, can not only use tools,
Bestie
but they'll
partners.
build them, like with multiple steps. Like if you give a Caledonian a box with food and a bunch of sticks, but none of the sticks are long enough to reach the prize, the crow has the presence of mind to combine multiple sticks to retrieve the treat. That kind of compound tool use basically puts them at primate tier.
What
So
the
let's
fuck?
see here, able to use tools, hold grudges, wage straight up war, befriend wolves, understand
wolves.
analogies.
I wonder if
either
I'm
they're the
allowed to have
humans of
two
birds
animals.
or we're the crows of primates. And that's probably the biggest reason why people fear them. They're arguably the biggest threat to human hubris. If Thanos snaps us all out of existence, don't be surprised if we come back to a black Air Force in the driver's seat. And that's gonna do it for this video. Drink water, hug your mother. I for one welcome our imminent avian overlords, just for anyone watching. Acknowledge your father, and I'ma see y'all in the next one.
Ah. Smartest bird on the planet still. Yeah, they're entertained. Me. Ah, God. Smartest bird on the planet still. Oh, man.